So the CBC here in Canada, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, once again showed itself its true colors and exposed how propagandized, how just ridiculous, how just unfunny, untalented hacks they are, how they are just the attachment of the liberal establishment and the globalization agenda. Because we've seen all the clips beforehand of them, demonizing the truckers, demonizing people that, went against the COVID narrative at the beginning. We saw how they were treating Pierre Poilievre differently than Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney, how they were trying to, bring up attention of the elbows up movement without acknowledging the fact that that was a completely government psyop done by Mark Carney to get himself elected, that they never held to account about the trade deals. They vilified Donald Trump. This has been going on since 2016, folks. This is not anything new, and this is why the CBC, their viewership has continuously decreased over the years. Just people are fed up with this government-run, broadcast system that claims to be a public broadcaster, but has no intentions to actually serve the public because the public knows better than the CBC itself. So, just to show people, we've shown how devastating this was before. I just want to remind people again that this is still ongoing. That the CFIA, so that's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and the RCMP are deliberately surrounding and doing a full-on attack on this farm in BC that's raising ostriches and threatening to kill them. Trying to kill the ostriches because they believe that they are dangerous to human health. But the real reason why they're going after these ostriches is because they're being used as subjects in possibly examining the antibodies that could lead to exemptions when it came to COVID. So that's why this ostrich farm in particular, who shows no, signs of symptoms harming people's health and show no danger to public safety, but they're demonizing them because they are potentially useful when it comes to the study of antibodies. And you have the CFIA, you have the RCMP getting directives by the Liberal government, by the NDP, by the provincial government as well, that to storm into this farm and do a on-site slaughter of these poor birds. And as Table Salt says, the CFIA in Canada is training the ostriches to line up and follow them to the slaughter structure, a perfect metaphor for Canada in general. So yeah, it is kind of like a metaphor that we're training people and using psyops, using propaganda, using verbiage to get people into formation to line up to this agenda that's going to harm you, your family, and this country in whole. And they're doing this intentionally. So this is what they've been doing for weeks on end at this ostrich farm in BC. And luckily, the farm owners have fought back against this. They've brought this to court. They have been trying to, certify the fact that they were willing to test the ostriches once again to prove that they are innocent, that they are no need to be called in this orchestration. But the CFIA and the RCMP, who are massively corrupted, decided to not go through with the testing and are trying to do a mass culling of these innocent birds. So it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. We showed a video before. We'll put a link in the description of that video if you want to check it out for yourselves. But the reason I bring this to attention is because the CBC and its flagship comedy show, 22 Minutes, did a whole bit about this. And we've shown how unfunny the 22-minute show has gotten. It is just absolutely embarrassing that once upon a time, this once reputable show has degenerated itself to what it is now. They fired Kathy Jones, who was one of the lead comedians to host the show because of her statements regarding the mandates. And it has just been deteriorating ever since. And now they did a segment about those ostriches that says government-funded comedians at 22 minutes mocked the ostrich farmers fighting against the CFIA's plan to destroy 400 birds at Universal Ostrich Farms in Edgewood, BC. Despite an avian flu outbreak in December 2024, the birds have remained healthy and asymptomatic over 250 days. So they never showed any symptoms, but they're going to kill them because of the so-called bird flu. But they're safe. But they're going to kill them because of the antibodies that could protect people from the bird flu. So here, this is what 22 minutes, this is what the CBC and their $1.4 billion in programming funding is serving their audience. A bunch of lies, a bunch of propaganda in this so-called comedy show that is absolutely just horrifically unfunny. Take a look at this.
The Supreme Court has delayed a planned execution of nearly 400 ostriches in British Columbia after an avian flu outbreak. For more, I'm joined by ostrich farmer Elwood Coburn. Good evening.
Oh, hello. That's all right, girl. It's okay. Shh. That's okay. That's okay. Shh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is your ostrich all right?
Oh, yeah, Bessie, she's all right. Just a bit scared because of all the media attention. That and a touch of bird flu. Ah! Ah!
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, to be expected. There, that's a good girl. That's a good girl. That's a good girl.
I think that ostrich is sick.
Bessie? No, she's not sick. She's just an arsehole. Ah! Ah!
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the ostriches need to be destroyed. They allege that you haven't been taking good care of the birds.
How dare they? What's this country coming to if a man can't keep to himself and raise 400 ostriches? I'm not going to stand by with my head in the sand. The CFIA has these birds worried sick. Thanksgiving was just the other day, and these ostriches were so upset they barely touched their turkey.
Okay, but some famous American politicians have gotten involved. Robert Kennedy Jr. has asked for the birds to be studied, not killed. Dr. Oz offered to rehome the birds on his Florida ranch.
Florida? What do you think we are, nuts? Bessie has bird flu, not mad cow disease.
Okay, but the court order says that since the outbreak began, some 70 ostriches have died. And didn't another ostrich die just last week?
Well, we still have 399 healthy ostriches. That's 398 birds who have nothing wrong with them. There's 397 birds with a right to live, and if the government has their way, there won't be 396 birds left. They want to kill all 395 birds. Well, I plan to save all 394 of them. Bessie! Bessie! Bessie, girl, talk to me! Mouth to beak!
Is she?
Bessie! 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 Ah!
Good luck with the case.
Yeah, that was... I couldn't even stomach that because it was just so painfully unfunny. This is supposed to be a comedy show. Mind you, this is a comedy show on the public broadcaster, the government-funded CBC. So this is what they consider comedy. Just openly mock that farmers who have raised ostriches their entire lives have spent generations cultivating, raising, maturing, feeding, making sure that they're medically advised. These ostriches have been around for many years, and they have done studies. They have proven records to back their case, which of course 22 minutes is completely ignoring and saying that they're nuts. How crazy it is. Oh, you're getting American politicians involved like RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz. Oh, they might be transferred to Florida. That's so crazy. They're mocking this. They're not mocking the fact that the RCMP and the CFIA is so massively corrupted that they turn into the new Gestapo to go after ostriches instead of actually examining where this avian flu strain came from. They're not concerned about that. They're not concerned about actually where this virus came from. Isn't it funny? That's the same measure that we saw with COVID. But no, they're going to go after the innocent victims of ostriches that have proven that they have no symptoms. They have been tested. They have the records to prove that. And of course, 22 minutes ignores all of that. 22 minutes is a disaster. The show is just painfully unfunny. painfully unfunny. This almost makes even the worst of SNL a tad bit more better to watch than this. I cannot believe, like, how is this a comedy bit? How is this a comedy bit? It's just so painfully unfunny. And, of course, this is the same broadcaster who for many years have lied to you, have propagandized, are completely biased when it comes to the liberal establishment. You know, you don't bite the hand that feeds them. And considering the fact that they're getting huge amounts of funding, taxpayer funding from the Canadian government to hush up about everything from the SNC-Lavalin scandal to Justin Trudeau to how Mark Carney got elected, all these different notions that takes actual journalistic integrity to investigate, the CBC is completely ignoring. And anyone that questions it, anyone that criticizes the CBC's reporting, well, I guess they're anti-American or anti-Canadian. I guess there's some sort of Russian puppet. That's why we got to go after them. That's why we need this bill to demonize podcasters and social media, because they're the ones that are spreading lies. We don't have to hold ourselves accountable. I'm getting lots of money, so obviously I've done nothing wrong. But these podcasters with their cameras and their views and their ability to look things online and research, we need to go after them with hard legislation. So, just want to, show how disparaging this comedy show is. This sketch comedy show that, tries to view itself as some sort of like Daily Show esque comedy bits. Here is, to remind people, this is Ryan Gertson saying, here's another disgusting video from CBC's 22 Minutes. This is the one calling for mandatory vaccination of truckers because they obviously carry disease everywhere. Wait until you hear the message at the end. Defund this vile company. So this is 22 Minutes. This is back last year at a time when people were angry at the government for what they did to the truckers, what they did to Tamara Leach and Chris Barber, when they were angry and vilifying the occupation that was the most vaccinated at the time. The truckers were up to date on their injections, but they still got demonized because they went against the mandates, because a lot of people who got the injections, unfortunately, got severe adverse side effects that are not being recognized, that the CBC is not reporting. They're in fact demonizing people. They're demonizing people that got adverse side effects from the vaccination. They're saying to people that, oh, they're making it up, that it's a false flag, that they're safe and effective. Don't listen to them. Trust the science and shut the hell up. So now here's the CBC vilifying the truckers. Vilifying the truckers. Not going after the people that demonized people, went after the bank accounts, but are mocking the truckers. The people that they once congratulated for doing the hard work of, restocking our shelves and bringing inventory across the country. The essential workers. Now they're vilifying. Watch this.
How long have you been out of the country?
10 days?
Have you been anywhere with a high risk of exposure to COVID?
Well...
Etobicoke, Mimico, Scarborough, Simcoe, Canso, Caswell, Ormo, Windigo, Papineau, Minto, Bakemo, Oxbow, Glenbow, Yoho, Quitico, Fogo, Esquimalt, Toronto, Bonavista. Let me tell you, mister, I've been everywhere, man. COVID up to here, man. My mouth is always bare, man, in need of some health care. I've got nothing to declare, man, but I've been everywhere.
Okay, everything seems in order. You can,
Sneezing, coughing, hacking, wheezing, canopy, allergies not in season. Can't taste, passing waste, disgrace, out of place. Haven't got the COVID app, I can't be contact traced. Can't get the vaccine even though I'm coming clean. Chest pain, lung strain, here I go again. I've been everywhere, man, but you do not care, man. It's affecting my lifespan, man. You really need a plan. I'm a businessman, just doing what I can.
okay, everything seems good. You can go.
Vaccinate Canada's truckers. A message from truckers and everyone else.
Again, painfully just unfunny material. And I apologize The fact that they're using a great Canadian classic songwriter and artist, Stompin' Tom Connors, for manipulating that song for that skit. I apologize to Stompin' Tom himself for just how abusive they took that classic Canadian tune and used it in this nefarious way. That, oh, truckers need to be vaccinated. They're the awful ones. We gotta laugh at them because they're going around everywhere and contracting themselves with all these diseases. Ah! Really? Because Justin Trudeau back in 2020 congratulated the truckers. They are essential workers. They are needed to restock the shelves that brings products around all across the country. You thank them, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, they're the enemy of the people. That's brainwashing for you. That's a psyop. That's what Canada did to its own people. They made it so that an essential worker that is valuable, the most valuable occupation in this country, one of the most valuable in this country, became enemies of the country because, oh, they wouldn't comply with the mandates. They weren't anti-vax. They wouldn't comply with authoritarian government overreach mandates that were proven unscientific. And that is proven by scientific data. And people still demonize it as conspiracy. People still villainize me. Even in 2025, they still think that I'm spreading conspiracies about COVID, even though all this information has been exposed and finally came forward. Even at a time when RFK Jr. is revealing this information. No. That's America. America's spreading propaganda. You got to trust our health ministers. You mean the ones that are brought to you by big pharmaceuticals, the ones that bend the knee to Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates, those cynical people, the ones that told you, you can have sex, but in a certain way because of COVID, like how degenerating those people are. And it's because of programs like this that promote it. Here's another 22-minute sketch. This time, again, going after the truckers, having this sketch about the truckers meeting and opposing the mandates. But again, they're trying to write it and showing how propagandized, how brainwashed and manipulated the CBC is, trying to use this comedy bit to demonize truckers who went after authoritarian reach. So watch this.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out to show Trudeau that he can arrest whoever he wants. New leaders will rise and we will take our country back. Now, the fake news seems to think that our movement is fizzling out. They think we lack the unity.
Did we do a freedom?
I'm sorry, do you have a microphone?
Yeah, Trevor Crunch, truck enthusiast. Did we do it? A freedom?
Well, you can't really do a freedom, but we are certainly working towards some.
Dang, I thought we did one.
We must show Ottawa and the nation that we cannot be shaken from our goal, that we are laser focused.
Excuse me? Which one is the drinking can?
Are those jerry cans?
Yeah, which one is the drinking one? The red one or the yellow one?
Do not drink from those cans.
I'm just gonna try them both.
Have you seen Longmire?
No, I don't think I've seen Longmire.
Come on, man. There are like 6 seasons. You haven't even seen one Longmire?
Oh, no, that's right. I have seen Longmire. I forgot about watching Longmire, and then all of a sudden I just remembered because you told me how many seasons there are.
The red one isn't the right one. The red one isn't the drinking can.
Okay, can we please just hold the questions until after, okay? Now, the media is wrongfully portraying us as some sort of a haven for fringe groups with radical ideas. But I know us. And even if it only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch, I think...
Nazi pants! Get your Nazi pants here! They got the swizzle stick on them.
Yeah. No, guys, come on! What?
Oh, yeah, I got
Whatever.
some tanks, bud. Yeah, I got some tanks.
I'm just going to stop it there because this is gut-wrenching to watch this and think that this is a comedy bit. They're openly contradicting themselves. They're making a joke about, truckers think the media thinks of us as Nazis and white supremacists, and then literally they're bringing in a woman selling Nazi swastika sticks. Like, you're contradicting yourself within your own sketch. God damn it. It's painfully unfunny. Painfully unfunny. I can get Grok. I can get an AI-generated comedy bit better than this. There's people on TikTok that can do better comedy than $1.4 billion CBC. This is what you have to offer your audience? No wonder why no one's watching your television stations. This is supposedly comedy to them. Ha ha ha! Truckers are dumb and Nazis. They're drinking out of jerry cans and they don't know which is gasoline, which is wine. Oh, they're a bunch of drugs. Again, I just want to reiterate that Justin Trudeau in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, thanked and congratulated the truckers for their hard work of being essential workers. And then all of a sudden, as people were starting to wake up to realize how dehumanizing this mandatory vaccination was getting to our country, that's when all hell broke loose. That's when all of a sudden your praised, beloved truckers that the politicians thanked once then became enemies because they would not comply. They would not, bow down to the authoritarian tyranny of big pharmaceuticals. And they were on the right side of this. They were definitely on the right side. And that is why they get the CBC and this 22 minutes garbage. This hour is 22 minutes, just absolute garbage, to make sketches laughing about this. Painfully unfunny sketches that are just so embarrassing. They're just so gut-wrenchingly painful to watch. And this is where your taxpayer money is going towards. This is the CBC's great efforts at work. Like I said, you can get an AI to do better comedy than this. Just so utterly embarrassing. So, of course, it's not just the comedy aspect that CBC is failing on. We talked about the journalism aspect of this. So, the former CBC host, Travis Denardra, however you pronounce that, who resigned from the CBC due to a toxic work environment, says the network wouldn't allow him to interview conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. I was told to keep quiet, not rock the boat. So this is the fired newscaster, and he didn't have low ratings. He didn't have, problems with that. It wasn't financial that he got fired, but he got fired because he was skeptical of the liberal agenda. He was skeptical of the government, and he wanted to bring on the opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, onto the CBC to have an interview. The CBC had said no and immediately fired him. And now he is on his own little podcast show talking directly to Pierre Poilievre, because now that he can do it, about how he was told to shut up by the CBC.
Do you think that outlets lean one way or the other?
Yes, they do. And they all know that, and you know that.
I mean, I do know that. But I mean,
you worked for CBC, am I wrong?
I did. Apparently, I still do. I haven't read the paper to see if I'm still employed or not. But
probably won't be after this interview.
After this airs, probably not. But I mean, part of the reason we did the show is to push past kind of gatekeeping. I did live it at CBC. I was told to keep quiet, not rock the boat. I mean, I was not even able to request an interview with you.
Wow.
I wanted to have you on my show. I was not able to do that. But what's your take on the state of our public broadcaster right now?
I think, it's as you describe it. They have an ideological objective and they carry it out every day. And, but you described it very clearly in your comments after you. So have you left, or so I'm not misstating the facts?
I think that they have a story on their website with my resignation letter. But apparently,
well, before you resigned, you described how CBC operated, and I think your assessment is accurate.
Okay, so I just want to correct the statement. He didn't get fired. He resigned from the CBC, but he was pushed out by the CBC because he was contradictory of their of their so-called journalism. That they are definitely biased. They are definitely pushing an agenda. That they're definitely ideologically in tune with the liberal establishment. Again, don't bite the hand that feeds them, to the tune of $1.4 billion. And he was exposing it. He was exposing the horrific practices that the CBC was doing. And he was resigning. He was in the process of resigning from the network because he felt that he was being pressured to, that he didn't feel like it was a place for him. That being a journalist who was being skeptical even of his own broadcaster, who was not living up to the standards of what a public broadcaster is. Again, that's why I've stated I don't consider the CBC a public broadcaster, because in order to be a public broadcaster, you have to be you have to have communication with the public. You have to reach out to the public and address what they want to see. Just like how I don't consider the PBS in America as a public broadcaster, because they're bought out by large corporations. They obviously have an ideological agenda that's more corporate, that's more, neoliberal status quo than the public's perception. And they've completely disconnected themselves from the general public. So they're not considered public broadcasters. They're only there name only to get more tax dollars, to get more funding, to do the horrific stuff like you just saw in 22 minutes. And the fact that one of their employees that wanted to interview the opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, because he's a porn figure in politics, like this is the opposition leader, obviously you should have that conversation. If you're going to interview Mark Carney, if you're going to interview, liberal politicians, obviously you need to reach out to the conservatives, because that's how it works. And they denied it. They denied having the interview. So that's what Travis said there. And he said that, it made me feel like it was my time to, send in the paperwork, that I was giving my 2-week notice, because of just how awful and degrading the CBC broadcaster is doing in its own principles and its own ethics, how it's treating journalists, how it's treating the general public, and just the standing point and what it does to our culture. I mean, look at it. They openly just villainize truckers. They openly villainize truckers. They openly villainize farmers for treating their ostriches. And they're not attacking the crazy lunatics that think culling a bunch of birds is going to protect them from an avian flu strain that hasn't been properly researched. They don't mock that. They don't mock the RCMP. They're just there to do their job. That was what they said on camera. They're mocking the farmers. They're mocking the caretakers that have kept care of these birds for numerous years. And they're just villainizing them because, you're not listening to the government, so obviously you're just an idiot. You're a bad guy. Trust the government. Trust the science. Trust the establishment. So, the CBC, again, it is not a public broadcaster in my eyes. It's public in name only, because they have blobbed themselves. This is from the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. The CBC is an unaccountable, expensive blob. The CBC costs taxpayers. I just want to show this right here in the highlighted section. The CBC costs taxpayers $1.4 billion in 2023-2024 alone. $1.4 billion. So that was 2 years ago that budget came out. And since Mark Carney has now taken office, he's expanding that. He wants to increase the spending to the CBC. He wants to diminish Canadians' access to social media content. He wants to diminish the ability of podcasters and streamers and actually people that give a damn about their audience. But he wants to give more funding in the process to the CBC, because he wants people to trust the CBC being the state broadcaster of Canada. He wants the same model that North Korea has, where every channel parrots the same government propaganda message, that there's really no difference. And if you go outside the norms and go to podcasters, go to streamers, go to X and Rumble and so on, that you are getting misinformed. You're being propagandized from foreign adversaries. You're stepping out of line that's critical of being American, blah, blah, blah. Just absolutely just insane. And the CBC has been in lots of numerous scandals within itself. So back when they did that big broadcaster bailout, remember when the Trudeau administration, when they were still in Parliament, they gave out millions of dollars to the big broadcasters because they felt like the journalists were getting undervalued compared to, Facebook and social media. And that's why they did that attack on Meta and why you can't share news on Facebook and whatnot. But that money that was supposed to go towards, keeping the foundation of Canadian broadcasting, they gave it to the top 1%. So the CBC head pressed by MPs over billing $6,000 for Paris Olympics Day. So the money that was given by the government as a subsidy to keep the broadcasters afloat was given to the CEO, who then abused it and took it on herself to pay for a luxury penthouse during the Paris Olympics. Just one of the many things that the CEO, Catherine Tate, that is her name, was accused of and questioned by many MPs on the about the abuse of the subsidy that was supposed to go towards the workers at CBC. Instead, they laid off those people. They laid off the bottom line crew, and they gave themselves a pay raise. So just the most atrocity that someone like Catherine Tate and the executives at CBC, just like the executives at Bell, just like the executives at Rogers, they're all the same. They diminished the workers that work to run these broadcasters, to run the camera equipment, to run and manage and operate the programs you're seeing on their broadcasts. But all that money went to the CEOs. All that money went to the abusers, who then took that money to their advantage. So that became such a big scandal that Catherine Tate resigned. They gave the job to another person, and they're just doing the exact same thing. Because the CBC still continues to get government funding, and Mark Carney is allowing for that to continue and giving more money to the CBC, and they're not changing whatsoever. Why would they change? Why would they be held to account when the government's just going to freely give them more money in the process? Here's Financial Post also stating this. CBC Radio Canada board approves bonuses after layoffs. Will review pay structure. The money is performance pay and counts towards some employees' total compensation as stipulated by contracts. So it was supposed to go towards keeping the employees. It was supposed to go towards the workers. But again, they laid off people, and then all that money that the government gave them under Justin Trudeau, they gave to themselves. And that's why the CBC is the garbage broadcasting organization that has become all these years. Because they don't listen to the public. They don't listen to the audience. They're, again, public broadcaster by name only, because they get a lot of their funding from corporate sponsors. They get a lot of funding from lobby firms. They get a lot of money from the government to hush up about their scandals. And that is why they produce the nonsense, just stomach-churning garbage like 22 Minutes that's still on the air, that is unfunny, and people don't bother watching because of how painfully unfunny it is. Like, it is just a joke. It's a joke that they call this a comedy show. It's a joke that the CBC produces quality programming for Canadians, considering majority of Canadians are far done with the CBC. They go onto YouTube, they go onto X, they go onto social media platforms. They rather watch Pluto TV than watch what the CBC is producing. And considering what they're producing, what we just showed you, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. Because that is just completely just absurd to serving the public, to serving the audience of people that could be watching the CBC, but instead would rather propagandize people to get more money from the government, because the government is not going to hold the CBC accountable, just like the CBC is not going to hold the government accountable. They go hand in hand. It is state propaganda, and it is just grotesque. And now they went after the ostriches. They're going after the farmers protecting ostriches. Just absolutely, absolutely grotesque.